The YouTube algorithm works in strange ways. It was almost exactly 10 years ago when I uploaded a 1 minute and 35 second standard definition video called The World's Fastest Booting PC. And at the time it got a fair amount of interest, but as with the vast majority of my videos, over time it faded into the background and only got a handful of views and comments over the years since then. That was until about a week and a half ago when I started noticing that this video from 10 years ago started getting more views and comments again. And since then, it really has shot up in popularity. In the past week, it's gained almost 200,000 views, and I have no idea why. There's no consistent theme in the comments as to how people came across this video other than somehow YouTube recommended it to them. And just like they did 10 years ago, most of the comments on that video have fallen into two distinct categories. The first is people complaining about the high-pitched whine from the CRT monitor I was using, and the other group are people bragging that their Commodore 64 boots up faster than the Tandy 1000RL I showed in the video, even though that's not actually correct. Because if you go back to that original video I uploaded, you'll see that this Tandy takes 2.2 seconds between when I pushed the power button and when the DOS prompt appeared on the screen. So here we go. And there we have the DOS prompt. Whereas you can go to any video showing a Commodore 64 turning on, and you'll see that it takes about 3.4 seconds between when they flip the power switch and when the basic screen appears.
And here we go. This is it, guys. It powers up. It works.
However, the days of this Tandy 1000RL reigning supreme as the world's fastest booting PC may be numbered, because unlike 10 years ago, I now have its successor, the Tandy 1000 RLX. Introduced in June 1991, the Tandy 1000 RLX kept the same low-profile pizza box-style case and 25-watt fanless power supply as the 1000 RL, but upgraded it with a faster and more powerful 286 processor, more RAM, higher resolution VGA graphics, a high-density 1.44 megabyte floppy drive, and doubled the disk space when equipped with the optional 40 megabyte hard drive. Yes, you still had to pay extra for the hard drive. And for the few people who did not order it with the optional hard drive, it still has the core system files of MS-DOS 3.3 and Tandy's DeskMate graphical user interface in ROM, which means we can do a direct comparison of boot up times between the 1000 RL that I featured in my original video and the 1000 RLX to see if it's any faster. And if it is, that would make it the even faster world's fastest booting PC. Here are the two machines side by side with their covers taken off. As you can see, they look nearly identical inside. They both have the optional 40 megabyte Seagate ST351A/X IDE XT hard drive, but on both of these machines I'm going to leave it disconnected so that these boot up from the built-in DOS in ROM, which is a lot faster than waiting for the hard drive to spin up and initialize. Here's the motherboard of the 1000 RL. It has an AMD 8086 processor running at 9.54 megahertz, 768K of RAM, one 8-bit ISA expansion slot, and Tandy's improved CGA graphics, which provides the full 16 colors in all modes compared to only 4 colors for standard IBM CGA graphics, and also the Tandy sound chip with 3 voices, 1 noise channel, and an 8-bit digital to analog and analog to digital converter for recording and playing back digitized speech and music.
Computers are at my window making irritating noise. Computers are in the way when I try to look at the ground.
And every time I feel strongly about something, computers I had to tell me.
And here's the motherboard of the 1000 RLX. It also has an AMD processor, but this time it is a 286 running at 10 megahertz. 1 megabyte of RAM on board, VGA graphics with its own 256K of video RAM, the same single 8-bit ISA expansion slot, and the same Tandy sound capabilities as the 1000RL. So here we go with the comparison. As you can see, I'm using CRT monitors with both of them because every LCD monitor, no matter how good, has some degree of lag to it. So I don't want that to be a factor in this comparison. So if the high-pitched whine bothers you, you can mute the audio and just look at the subtitles. Both monitors are plugged directly into the wall outlet so I can turn them on. But both computers are plugged into a switched power strip. So I'm going to turn on both of them, but you'll see the computers do not boot up until I flip the switch, at which time both computers will start up exactly simultaneously, and we'll get to see on the video which one of them reaches the DOS prompt first, if there's a difference at all between them. So here we go. I'm going to flip the switch. 3, 2, 1, go. Well, that's pretty damn close. I may need to do a slow motion video to capture the exact difference between the two of them. From the slow motion footage, you can see that even though it has a slower and less powerful CPU, the 1000RL booted up a split second faster than the 1000RLX. There's a couple possible explanations for that. First is that the 286 CPU that the RLX uses boots up in protected mode, and it has to switch into real mode in order to load DOS. And in order to do that on a 286, you have to actually reset the CPU, and then there's a special location in memory. You put a special flag, and that tells it you're not actually resetting it, you're just switching from protected mode back to real mode. And that doesn't take very long to do, but on a system as slow as these, every clock cycle counts. And I think more importantly, this has VGA graphics, while this has an enhanced version of CGA graphics. And the support for CGA is built into the main system ROM on the 1000RL. Whereas on the RLX, the support for VGA is its own separate ROM that needs to be loaded and initialized. And I think that's why you can see even before either of these computers start loading DOS, even just the ROM BIOS message takes longer to appear on the RLX compared to the RL. And also, this has 1 megabyte of RAM, while this has only 768K of RAM. And neither of these computers does a full diagnostic check of the RAM when they're starting up, but they do need to count how much RAM they have. So because this has more RAM, it's going to take a little bit longer to count it than the 1000RL. And also there's almost no difference in CPU clock speed between these two systems. This one is running at 9.54 megahertz, and this one is running at 10 megahertz. So that's less than a 5% difference. So all of those things combined can explain why the 1000RLX is actually slightly slower to load than the 1000RL. Yes, that's thunder outside if you can hear it, but there's one more comparison I want to make. The DeskMate graphical user interface that's built into ROM on these computers, because maybe that's where the 286 power of the 1000RLX will redeem itself. So I'm going to exit out of DeskMate on both of these and type in desk on both of them, and I'll try to hit enter simultaneously on them. So 3, 2, 1, go. No, the 1000RL is still slightly faster than the 1000RLX. Now, to be fair, this has much higher resolution VGA graphics, so that could be a lot of the explanation of why this takes longer to load than the 1000RL. But you could clearly see the difference there. I didn't even need to do slow motion. So unless someone can prove otherwise, this Tandy 1000RL from 1990 still reigns supreme as the world's fastest booting PC.